Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about all of the movies and TV shows that I have watched recently. This is a recurring series on my channel where I just talk about the TVs and the TVs. The TV shows and movies that I have been watching, mostly period dramas and mystery shows, because that's what I like. So let's just dive in. I have several things that I want to talk to you about today, and there will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip to one particular thing. I will try to avoid spoilers, and if I'm going to spoil anything, I will put spoilers on the screen so you can skip those if you haven't seen the show or movie I'm talking about. First, I watched A Haunting in Venice. This is one of the Kenneth Branagh Poirot films, and this is an adaptation of Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. I say adaptation with air quotes because this movie is an adaptation in the loosest sense of the word. The book Halloween Party follows the murder of a 12-year-old girl at a Halloween party in an English village. The film, A Haunting in Venice, is set during a seance in Venice, and the psychic medium is killed. So the basic premise is very different, the setting's different, and though there are characters who have the same names in both movies, a lot of them are very different. I mean, Joyce in Halloween Party is a 12-year-old girl. Joyce in Haunting in Venice is like an older psychic. So really, the only things that this film has in common with Halloween Party is a Halloween Party is part of the book. Some characters have the same names. There's like one subplot that's the same, and the killer is the same, but they killed different people for different reasons. I think while this movie was very entertaining and well acted, I have a problem with calling it an adaptation of Halloween Party. I feel like they should have just pitched it as an original film. Because, you know, I read Halloween Party before I went to see this movie, and I feel like I could have just skipped reading it. They had so little in common. Listen, I know a lot of Agatha Christie fans don't like the Kenneth Branagh Poirot films because they make changes from the original books. And I feel like the tone of the books and the movies is very different. I personally like the Kenneth Branagh films for what they are. Like, I think they are always, you know, well acted. The filming is good, you know, they have nice cinematography, they're entertaining. So I like them for what they are. I just had a huge issue with calling this a Halloween Party adaptation when it's really not a Halloween Party adaptation. I also don't like what they did with Ariadne Oliver in this film. In this film, she's played by Tina Fey, and I don't like the direction they took her character. She's a really fun recurring character in the books, and I don't like the changes that they made in the movies. Now, a film adaptation I did watch and enjoy was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Man, this was so entertaining, and like, I am ready to be a Hunger Games girly again because of this movie. So this is an adaptation of the Hunger Games prequel, which follows the man who will grow up to become President Snow in his youth. He is attending school in the capital, and it's very early on in the history of the Hunger Games, a competition where a boy and girl from each of the country's 12 districts have to fight in a battle to the death. So Snow and his classmates are all assigned to mentor a tribute for this year's games, and Snow is assigned Lucy Gray Baird, who is a girl from District 12. I thought this was a really good adaptation. It's been a while since I read the book, so obviously I don't remember every single detail about it, but I felt like it was by and large pretty faithful. I saw some people online were upset because they changed the order in which the tributes die. Personally, it didn't bother me. I didn't even remember the order they died in the books, so I personally didn't care about that. I felt like they really hit like all the main points of the book, and the film was so entertaining. I really enjoyed the performances, and I think everybody did a really good job as their characters. I loved Tom Blythe as the young Snow. I loved Rachel Ziegler as Lucy Gray. The actor who played Sejanus was really good. They had Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage, who just... have they ever given a bad acting performance? If they have, I haven't seen it. And honestly, an element of this movie that I really loved was Jason Schwartzman, I think is his name, as Lucky Flickerman, the Capitol announcer for the games. He's hosting these games where boys and girls are fighting to the death, and he just cares about, is he gonna make his dinner reservation tonight? Like, the performance that he gave in this film was so good, you know, and brought some comic relief to an otherwise serious movie with his antics. Really, just every actor in this movie I thought was really good. Now, it wasn't perfect. Personally, I felt like the end of the movie was a bit rushed. I think they rushed through some of the events that take place towards the end of the book a little bit. And I also think you're gonna like this movie more if you've read the book. Because one aspect of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes book that I found was really effective was Coriolanus's inner narration. The book is narrated by him, and so we get access to his thoughts. And you can see in the book that really, even before he becomes the evil person he is, he's not a great person. He's very selfish. And in the book, his thoughts about Lucy Gray are very controlling and possessive. He's not genuinely in love with her. He wants to possess her, and he feels entitled to her. And in the book, this entitled attitude that he has really comes across. Because in the movie, you're not getting his narration, I think people who haven't read it may be like a little confused. I went to see this movie with my mom who didn't read the book, and she was kind of confused, like, well, was he a good person in the beginning? Did he love Lucy Gray? So I feel like if you haven't read the book, you are losing that part of it, which is one of the most important parts. So I do think that is a flaw with the movie, but as somebody who read the book, man, I loved this movie. It was really entertaining, really good, and I'm ready to be a Hunger Games girly again. Like, I'm thinking about making a vlog where I reread the entire trilogy. Anything to talk about the love of my life, Peeta Mellark again. Now let's get into the series that I watched. I watched this mini-series on Netflix called Bodies. And this miniseries has such an intriguing concept for a show. Like, when someone told me what it was about, I knew I had to watch this. So Bodies is sort of like a sci-fi mystery that takes place in 4 timelines. There is a timeline in Victorian London, one in the 1940s London, one in modern day London, and one in futuristic London. And in these 4 timelines, we're following 4 detectives, all of whom discover a body in Long Harvest Lane, Whitechapel. And it is seemingly the same body. The same man turning up dead in 4 different time periods. Such an intriguing concept, like 4 detectives across time solving the same murder. Just immediately I was like, okay, I gotta go watch this. I liked this show, but I had problems with it. It was very entertaining. There were some really good performances in it. I think my favorite of the detectives was Alfred Hillinghead, who is the inspector in the Victorian timeline. There is this one scene where he is talking to his wife and he is confessing something to her, and it was like genuinely really emotional. The problem I have with this is some of the plot doesn't make logical sense when you think about it. Obviously, this is a sci-fi show and it does involve time travel. I don't think that's a spoiler to say, because like if you're investigating the same murder in 4 time periods, obviously time travel is somehow involved. The way I see it, though, when you are writing about time travel in a piece of media, there are two different approaches to time travel that you can take. Either one, you can take the approach that when you travel through time, you cannot change anything. History has been written. You cannot alter the space-time continuum. You can go back in time, but you were always destined to go back in time, and no matter what you do in the past, you're not going to change anything. That's option one. Option two, you can go for a view of time travel where you can change time. You can travel and alter the space-time continuum. You can create alternate realities, alternate histories, and change the timeline. This show kind of chooses to do both at the same time, which doesn't make sense. Because basically there's an element of the show where somebody chooses to go travel through time because of information they received only because they were destined to go through time. And yet somehow they're able to alter history. So both things can't be true. Either you're destined to go back in time or time can be changed. Because if he can really change time, then he's changing the events that inspired him to go back in time in the first place. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's basically trying to say time can be changed and time cannot be changed at the same time. So when you really think about it, the show doesn't fully make sense. My verdict on Bodies, it's very entertaining. I enjoyed it. There were some really good moments, but don't think about it too hard because there are some things that just don't hold up when you logically think them through. Next, I watched season 2 of The Gilded Age, which I really enjoyed. I love The Gilded Age. It's created by Julian Fellowes, the same man who created my all-time favorite show, Downton Abbey. And this is following a bunch of characters living in New York during the Gilded Age. If you like Downton Abbey, you really need to watch The Gilded Age because it's basically just like American Downton Abbey. Some people criticize it as being too similar, but personally, I don't care. I really enjoy The Gilded Age. In my real life, I'm a very liberal woman who's always complaining about capitalism, but when I watch The Gilded Age, my favorite characters are George and Bertha Russell, ruthless social climbing capitalist couple. So I just check my real life morals at the door when I watch TV. Now, there were a lot of things that I liked about season 2. I enjoyed it. It was really good, and I was so happy to have the show back after a long break. I do feel like it was a little rushed. I feel like, considering the number of episodes they had, they tried to do slightly too much, so there were some storylines that just didn't really work for me. I still love George and Bertha Russell. I love how George Russell is in his work life, just like a ruthless capitalist out for blood. But in his home life, he is a wife guy who just wants Bertha to have everything that's good in the world. As he should. Give me more male characters who worship the ground their wife walks on, okay? I also liked Oscar's character a lot more this season. I was really rooting for him, and I am really liking him as a character now. I also love Peggy, though I didn't love some of the choices they made regarding Peggy. We'll get back to that later. Season 1, one of my biggest complaints was that Marion, who is probably the closest thing this show has to a main character, I really didn't like her in season 1. I found her annoyingly naive at times, and in this season, I'm still not a fan of her, but I didn't find her as frustrating as I did in season 1. My opinion about her now is sort of, she's fine, but she's far from the most interesting character on this show, in my opinion. I also love Agnes Van Ryn, Christine Baranski's character. She is sort of the Gilded Age's version of the Dowager Countess. My biggest complaint about this season is I felt like there were some storylines that were rushed, and my least favorite storyline was the one involving Peggy and her boss, Thomas Fortune. Now, Thomas Fortune was actually a real man. Like, he's a real historical figure that existed. And I find some of the choices they made regarding his character, let's just say questionable, because I feel like it's kind of like odd and borderline disrespectful to make a real historical figure like do some of the things that he did. Like, I just thought that was a choice. And I didn't really care for it. And I didn't love it for Peggy's character arc either. Will I be watching season 3 though? Heck yes. I really enjoy the Gilded Age. It's so fun. And if you're a Downton Abbey fan, like, why are you not watching the Gilded Age? Because you should be. Go watch it right now. That's in order. And then the final thing that I've watched recently was Only Murders in the Building season 3. Yeah, I know, I'm behind on this one, but I finally watched it. I originally watched seasons 1 and 2 by myself, but I rewatched them with my mom, who was watching them for the first time, and we just recently finished watching season 3 together. This is a show on Hulu that's sort of like a comedic murder mystery. It follows these 3 characters, Charles, Oliver, and Mabel, who all start a true crime podcast together and continually find themselves having to solve real-world murders because the people around them have a tendency to die violent deaths. This 3rd season, it centers around this Broadway show that Oliver is directing, and the leading man in the show is murdered. This season had some really big actors. Paul Rudd plays Ben Glenroy, the actor who is killed, and Meryl Streep was in this season as Loretta, who becomes Oliver's love interest. So some really big name gets for this season. I liked this season overall. I thought it was enjoyable. I was having fun watching it. I was getting into trying to figure out who killed Ben Glenroy. My biggest issue with it is I felt like they didn't utilize some of the characters from seasons 1 and 2, who I would have liked to see more in the season, and the actual reveal of who killed Ben was not my personal favorite. I just felt like it was a bit underwhelming in the execution, so I really enjoyed the season overall, but I was slightly disappointed by the whodunit in the end. I think I'm gonna do a spoiler section for that because it's hard for me to discuss why I was disappointed without spoilers. So before I dive into the spoiler section, I will just quickly say I really liked Meryl Streep's character in this. That one scene towards the end with Dickie, that was really good. And I actually really liked the relationship with Oliver. I don't know if they're going to be able to get Meryl Streep back for season 4, but I'll be kind of sad if she's not in season 4 because I liked her character a lot. And yeah, it was all in all pretty entertaining. It was really funny. And, you know, I may or may not have bopped around to which of the Pickwick triplets did it. Cannot confirm nor deny that I did that. Alright, so now my spoiler thoughts on why I was disappointed by the ending. So, massive spoilers. The show Death Rattle that Oliver is putting on, one major element we learned about the show is that, so it's like a murder mystery show that is following the death of this woman who was pushed to her death from a lighthouse, and the only people who seem to have been present at her death were her triplet babies. And Meryl Streep, her character, is also playing a character in the show who is the nanny. And one thing we find about the nanny character is that she's very protective of these triplets, these children that have been in her charge, and like she's willing to do anything to keep them safe. So that's kind of like a theme of the season. And I really enjoyed the reveal that Loretta, Meryl Streep, is Dickie's mother. And at one point, she, believing that Dickie is the murderer, confesses to the murder to save him. And I thought that was really well done because it connects back to the theme of like the nanny in the show. So that I really enjoyed. But then we find out that the person who killed Ben is Cliff, the son of Donna, the producer. And this is supposed to be Cliff's first show. He's kind of like a Nepo baby, and he has this borderline inappropriately close relationship with his mother, Donna. And so at the end, we find out that Cliff is the one who pushed Ben, resulting in his death. And Donna confesses to protect Cliff. Which, like, considering we just had Loretta confess to protect Dickie, and then, like, less than 3 episodes later, Donna is confessing to protect Cliff, it just felt too samey for me. Too much of, like, the same thing. So I didn't really care for that. I also felt like, so when the group are confronting Donna, saying, Donna, we think you're the murderer, they have the hanky that was found on Ben's body, and Donna is initially saying, no, I didn't push him. But then they say, oh, but the hanky has your lipstick on it. And at that point, my mom and I just looked at each other and were like, oh, so it's Cliff. Because there's a recurring gag throughout the season about Donna kissing Cliff on the mouth. So the moment they said it had her lipstick on it, we were both like, oh, so it's actually Cliff then. Yet, they still don't officially reveal that it's Cliff for like several more scenes in the episode. And so it kind of just came across as obvious because they'd already kind of given away that it was really Cliff by mentioning the lipstick. And having Donna immediately change her tune the moment they mentioned the lipstick, like, it was so clear, okay, Cliff did it and she's protecting him. So I just felt like having 2 mothers falsely confessing to protect their sons, it was a little bit too much of the same thing. And I feel like once they revealed that about the lipstick, it was very obvious that it was Cliff. So they should have revealed that it was Cliff in that moment because it was obvious where it was going after that. That was my biggest complaint and why the ending was slightly disappointing for me. Personally, I thought it was Taubert. I was on Taubert all season long, and I was kind of disappointed. I think I would have liked that ending better. Can't trust a man with a name like Taubert. So everyone, those are all the movies and TV shows that I have watched recently. Let me know, did you watch any of these movies or TV shows? I would really like to hear your thoughts about them down in the comment section. If you're still here and you don't know what to comment, why don't you comment a baby emoji in honor of the Pickwick triplets? Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. It really does help my channel a lot. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are in the description if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a tremendous rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.